Hello everyone. Today I want to share with you a story from um not long ago, from back in 2020 when everything began to happen in a weird way. So I decided to call this episode "The Time I Was Witchcrafted" because there is no other way I can explain what happened. So I was working at a restaurant back in 2020 and they didn't treat me good at the restaurant. I experienced some hostile behavior in which people would try to confront me in an aggressive way. I was just doing the dishes, and all of a sudden, some people would come towards me and began to say random things. Something things like talking about someone else. They wouldn't never direct it towards me, saying that someone was stupid or that someone was acting in a very dumb way and other kind of things, talking in a very bad way about someone else. And so they will be saying those things in front of me, and then will be saying, because I was doing the dishes, so they will be telling me to do the dishes for them and talking about other people, saying, talking like that. And also, there was this one time where that one person, a guy that worked there, um, tried to harass me and he insulted me. Oh, I thought he was insulting me. So that environment was very bad. And so I continued to work there. And at first, I didn't begin as a dishwasher. I began working as a prep cook. And while I was working there, I was demoted for no reason. And I say I was demoted because I didn't get a raise when they swapped me from being a prep cook to being dishwasher. So back then I was in college. My grades were in a good standing. So I was pleased with that and I didn't have any objections. So I was really happy. Back then I also had a relationship with someone and that person I mentioned before, the African American descendant. So I was happy back then. But at some point this person gave me a ring. Uh, and I thought that meant that we were in a serious relationship. And he said that was an expression of love from him towards me. But he took longer to say that than to show me that it wasn't the truth. Because around the same time, in December 2020, when he said that and all of those things were happening at the restaurant, um, I began to feel sick. I began to develop fatigue and insomnia. And by the end of December, towards the next year or New Year's, I began to hear voices of people. And the voices I began to hear were the voices of people from the restaurant. And so I thought, I don't know, I didn't take it seriously. I just thought it was something that was going on that was going to go away because how can someone talk to you if they are not there? How can you hear someone that's not there? I couldn't get that through my head. So I just let it go. And it didn't last that long, but towards the beginning of the next year or New Year's in 2021, I developed insomnia, and because of the same reason, my body felt I was ill. I got COVID twice during the same month, and so that's what the diagnosis was. So I felt fatigue, and I felt like I had a flu. I felt fever, and I was coughing and having sore throat and all of that. And so I didn't feel well, and I stopped going to work because I couldn't. I felt like fainting, and at work I already felt bad one time, and it's not like somebody cared at that workplace. So I just stopped going to work, and because of all of the things that they were doing to me at work, I didn't think that I was gonna be able to continue going to work because I had my instruments to do my job, and all of a sudden someone would come and take them and wouldn't put them back where they belong. And I had to go everywhere looking for them. And if I ask someone, they will be aggressive to me, saying that, oh no, I don't know where they are when they took them. Because later on, I paid more attention to who was taking my things, and I realized someone was taking them and not putting them back where they belonged. So that was something that was going on too. And I didn't think that was the right behavior. And I talked to other things happened at that workplace. And so I talked to that person who was in charge about that. And I talked to him, but I didn't see that what I said was her. So because the behavior towards me kept on being the same. So I didn't think that was a place worth staying, even though I was sick. And I decided to not go into work anymore. And plus, they didn't need that many people there back then either. So I didn't think that was going to be an issue. So, and after that, I stopped going to work because of that, and I was sick. So I began to develop some relentless behavior in which I couldn't stop moving and I couldn't go to sleep. I was awake all the time, and I was like that for 3 days. After 3 days, I began to hear voices again, but this time from different people. So that's when everything collapsed because I was hearing voices. I couldn't sleep, and there was no other way other than going to see a doctor that was gonna stop what was going on. And I had to go to my dad saw me in that state in which I couldn't stop walking, and I was seeing people around the apartment that were having a gun on their hand and pointing towards the apartment. That's what I saw. But my dad said that that wasn't the case and that I was hallucinating. So after 3 days of not sleeping or longer than that, I'm not really remember exactly that happened 3 years ago. So that happened, and my dad took me to the hospital. And I didn't want to go because I couldn't explain what was going on, but I thought it was going to go away because I never experienced that before. So I didn't experience it. And another thing that happened while I was working at that restaurant back in 2020, December 2020, was that every time I got off work, I would see a group of people, a group of I don't know if they were Hispanic or Latino men, on the rooftop of the building that was on the back of that restaurant, and they would be yelling at me for no reason, and I wouldn't address them because I didn't know them, so I didn't know why they would be yelling at me. I couldn't distinguish what they were saying either, so I didn't give them importance then, but that happened too. So I went to the hospital, and at the hospital they diagnosed me with something called psychosis. Apparently, what I was experiencing was psychosis. And another thing that they diagnosed me with was COVID, and I got a urinary tract infection, but that usually happens to me, so that was kind of normal. That was the first diagnosis. So I got off the hospital even though I couldn't sleep neither. I went to the hospital and I couldn't sleep. I still got insomnia, and they apparently treated me. I don't know if that was a treatment I was supposed to get, but they apparently treated me, and I didn't want to stay at the hospital because they put me in a room to determine my I don't know what they call inpatient something. I don't know what they call that. They didn't even explain to me why they put me in a room. So they put me in a room and they call that inpatient something. I don't remember. That's supposed to be on the medical records, but they put me in there, and I was in there, and I didn't feel good. I couldn't sleep there neither. I couldn't sleep, and I kept hearing voices. And back then, when before before I went to the hospital, that person left me. So it was 2 days after he left me that I got sick and went to a hospital. Isn't that weird? And so that person, later on, I found out that he was dating someone. So this is the girl that person was having an affair with. It's not that they were dating because he was my partner. So, and he gave me a ring back. So he was seeing that person. And on the text messages that later on I found out that she was saying to him that that was gonna be the best Christmas ever, that she was so excited to see him. When the same Christmas he gave me that ring to prove his love for me. And I couldn't believe it when I found out about that. That broke my heart because I really trusted him and I thought I was the only person in his life. But as I found out later on, that wasn't the case. And also, I continued to develop this illness or witchcraft develop on me because I began to feel, despite of him not being with me, because at that point we couldn't keep a relationship. He didn't want to date me anymore, and so I kept living my life, and I was not working, and I was feeling sick, and I began to have this tongue movement involuntarily that I couldn't control, and it felt weird. And also, I felt like something was moving inside of my head, and I thought that was weird because all of the exams or tests that they did at the hospital showed that I was perfectly healthy. I didn't have anything other than the auditory hallucination, the urinary tract infection, and COVID. And so, how do you explain these other symptoms that the doctor couldn't explain? So clearly, someone did something to me, and one of my hypotheses is because really they either didn't want me to continue to go to college, or they didn't want me to continue date this person, or because they didn't want me to continue working there, which I really didn't because the way they treated me was unfair. So those are my hypotheses. And also, because of this illness, I tried to claim disability because I couldn't keep working. So after all of this happened, due to my legal status, I couldn't have any help from no one. So later on, when everything got solved, I went to claim disability at the Social Security office, and they didn't know everything about me without me providing them with my personal information where I was working and all of those things that they are supposed to know because of my legal situation. Obviously, at workplaces I was working at, they didn't accept my documents because they were expired. So how come they knew about all of those places I worked at and they knew about my health situation, but they didn't do anything to help me? So that's something that is also out of the blue. And I think had to do something with me being sick. And so I want to claim the disability because of everything that I experienced. So I did that, and it took them like 2 weeks to say that I didn't qualify for disability, and that if I did wanted to qualify, I needed to show that I was not gonna be able to work when I have not been able to work in the prior years for me to apply to disability. And so I needed to wait longer without a job and prove that I couldn't work due to my illness. when that has been proven in the past years. And they said it was going to take them another year to determine that or something like that. And isn't that weird too? That they determined that I was not gonna be able to qualify in 2 weeks, but if I wanted to, if they were going to determine I was gonna be able to qualify, I needed to wait longer. I don't know. That sounds weird to me. So that happened too. And so despite of all of that, I continued to back in 2020, 2021. I couldn't keep studying or taking classes. And when I only had 6 classes left to graduation, and I was supposed to be taking them that 2021 and 2021 because I was going to take 3 or 2 every semester if everything went as planned. And I got a good standing. And so after I got sick, I couldn't keep on taking classes and my grades went down because back in 2022, when I tried to finish my 6 classes that I got left for graduation, I was taking them and I was still sick. I was hearing voices, and all of a sudden, I would feel like throwing up, or I would feel relentless and had insomnia. And despite of all that, I tried to take the classes um and keep good grades, but I couldn't because of that. So I just got passing grades, and my GPA lowered, and that was something that affected me because I obviously didn't want to have a low grade. I know I needed to have good grades for me to transfer to a different college because that's what I wanted to do from the beginning. But because of my situation that I was going through, I couldn't do it. So I just tried to finish the degree I already was enrolled to. So, but despite of having all those issues and that personal situation going on, so I finally graduated and I got my diplomas. I got my diplomas. This one, this one, this one, this one. Oh, and this one was a recognition letter. This one is a recognition letter back in 2018 for finishing that ESL program, the adult education program. This is my JD. And this is a letter of recognition for showing a good attitude towards my peers at the ESL class. So I appreciate that, despite the fact that other people didn't. And I think that's something that causes people to have envy and hate towards you. Because how come a person from another country comes to the United States and get those recognitions despite all the people living here for that long not having the same? I wouldn't call it luck because it takes a lot of work and brain power to achieve certain level of knowledge and to be recognized for that. So I finally got my GED and my associate's degree despite of all the situations I went through. And another thing is that this person not only cheated on me with that girl, but also he had another girl. And this is the girl. That's the girl he left me for later on. He first left me for that her stylist, and then for that other girl when he got back to me. So that he clearly wasn't a good person, and I do not understand his behavior towards me by the end of that relationship because I thought we were strong, but we weren't, as he proved. And all of this happened to me, he didn't care. So I think that was an unfortunate situation. Despite of that, I'm at a point in which I think for everything I have achieved personally in with my education, which was my priority. I think I could do better in life in comparison to how I was back when I was sick. And that's something that maybe other people don't like. And that's why I think I was witchcrafted. So that's a story about how I was, or since when I was witchcrafted. So thank you so much for your attention, and that's all.